It's interesting. There's only one food that is mechayev a bracha midoraisa. If one eats most foods, a shahakal food, or eitz hadama, nefashos, it's all midrabanan. Every bracha on food that we make is drabanan. Chazal u'mesakin u'mechuyev to say brachas, u'mechuyev to thank Hashem before we eat something. Anytime we eat something, we have to make a bracha. It's midrabanan. But there's one bracha that's midoraisa. There's one bracha on food that's midoraisa. What bracha is that? That's the bracha of bרכת המזון. You eat bread, you have to bench, midoraisa. Not midrabanan, midoraisa. 3 brachas midoraisa. Thanks for the food, thanks for Eretz Yisrael, thanks for Yerushalayim. But it's so interesting, because what is bread? How do we call bread in the Lashon HaTorah? Generally, the word used is lechem. Sometimes it will say pas lechem. Now, there is a Rashi in Vayikra that says that in the Torah, when the word lechem is used, sometimes it means any food. Generally, lechem means what? Bread. Chazal tell us what? That when we dash in the word lechem, it means one of the chameshes mini dagon. If we have a mitzvah to eat lechem, it has to be done from the chameshes mini dagon. Right? Matzah has to be from the chameshes mini dagon. That's lechem. Interestingly, Parshas Vayera, when Avram Avinu gives his guest lechem, there it says pas lechem. And there the Medrash Rabbah tells us something very interesting. It says v'sa'adu Lechem. He tells us that there are 3 times where the word pas lechem are used. In Torah, once in Nevi'im, and once in Ksuvim. And there it's followed up with the words v'sa'adu Lechem. Satisfies your heart to teach you that really a person, all he needs in his life is lechem. A person is mistapek b'muit, all he needs is lechem. But it's so interesting. Yes, lechem is the mainstay of a person. Lechem is mochuyev bracha midoraisa. But why should lechem be the one food that's mochuyev bracha midoraisa? Let's think for a minute. Where's the first time lechem is brought in Torah? The first time we find the word lechem in the Torah is where? In Parshas Bereshis. What does it say there in Parshas Bereshis? By the sweat of your brow, you should eat bread. Lechem is the one food that's used for the lashon of a curse. Right? There was a curse for eating from the eitz hadas tov v'ra. What comes out of that curse? We have to work for what? We have to schwitz for what? We have to sweat for lechem in order to get our bread. Our bread doesn't grow from the ground as bread. It grows from one of the chameshes minei dagon, which we then do winnowing, threshing, and all those ma'asim malachas on Shabbos. Which is, interestingly enough, in order for something to be a malacha on Shabbos, what does it have to be? It has to be a chashuv a malacha. It has to be a malachas chashiva, right? To the point where Chazal saw that bread is so chashuv, that all the siddur hapas, all the important components of baking bread, from the winnowing, the threshing, cutting, planting, all that is what? Is a malacha on Shabbos, which means you have created something. You have invented something. That's why it's a malacha on Shabbos. Because Shabbos, what makes something a malacha? Not how difficult it is, but the fact that we create something. We invent something. So what do you see? Lechem is the one food that not only do we have to earn it, get it, work at it, due to a curse. It's so important, each one of those steps, that each one of those steps is a Maaseh Shabbos. Each one of those steps is my creation, my invention. And yet it's the one time when you go and you sit down and you eat bread that you're mechuyev midoraisa to recite a bracha. Why is that? It should be the other way around. You take an apple off a tree. Beautiful, red, juicy apple. Came from the Rabbeinu Shalom. You planted a seed. What's that seed? We could all see the hand of Hashem. It sits in the dirt, in the mud. Some rain comes on it. And instead of washing it away, you get a beautiful apple tree. And yet you're not mechuyev midoraisa a bracha. But comes to bread, which requires our creativity, our invention, you're mechuyev a bracha. And I think the pshat is, that's why you're mechuyev a bracha. Because so many times in our life we can think it's the sweat of our brow. It's sayes api. It's kaichi vaitim yadi. Look what I did. And it's so easy to forget the Rabbeinu Shalom comes along the Torah and says, yes, it's going to take all your invention, it's going to take all your creativity, it's going to take all these Maaseh Shabbos, and it's even a curse. But you have to go to work and you have to sweat to get your bread. It's a curse. Really, without eating from Netz Hadas, we wouldn't have had it. Ha gufa. That's why the Torah tells us to make a bracha. Because it's so easy for us to get tied up in our invention, in our creativity, and us to think that what? It's us. And therefore we have to say, Hazones ha'olam kulei b'tvoi b'chein b'chesed b'rachim, hu noisein lechem l'chol basar. Yes, we're still makir. He, Hashem, is the one who is giving lechem to each one of us. And that's why it's mechuyev a bracha d'oraisa.